Stop letting your emotions make your decisions. Stop letting feelings decide how far you go. The world doesn't care how you feel, it rewards what you do. The weak drown in emotion. The strong turn emotion into direction. This audiobook is not about motivation, it's about control. You're about to learn how to silence the noise inside you, how to turn pain into precision, and how to think like a warrior. From this moment forward, you don't react, you respond. You don't feel, you win. You wake up in the morning. The alarm hits, you have a choice. Do you get up, or do you talk yourself out of it? That moment, that split second, is the entire war of your life. Your mind whispers, 5 more minutes. Your body hesitates, your discipline dies. That's the problem. You've spent your whole life negotiating with your mind. You've turned every command into a debate. You've mistaken feelings for facts. Let's get one thing straight. Your mind is not your friend when it's untrained. It's clever, manipulative, and lazy. It's the master of excuses. You say you're tired. You say you need rest. You say you'll start tomorrow. No, you don't need rest. You crave comfort. You don't need time. You fear commitment. You don't need motivation. You need obedience. That's the key. Obedience to your mission, not your mood, not your emotions, not your energy levels. When you tell yourself to move, you move. When you set a standard, you uphold it. No discussion, no delay, no deals. You have a choice, always. But every time you negotiate with your mind, you lose authority over it. You tell your brain it runs the show. You teach it that your feelings are the boss. And that's why most people stay stuck. They live their whole lives inside a mental courtroom, arguing with themselves. Should I go to the gym? Should I send that email? Should I speak up? Every decision turns into a trial. Every moment of discomfort becomes a plea bargain. But warriors don't negotiate, they command. That's what separates the disciplined from the average. The disciplined person doesn't ask for permission from their emotions. They give orders to their mind and execute without hesitation. You don't need their permission. Not from others, not from your own mind. Your mind works for you. You're the commander. Let's talk about what that looks like in the real world. Picture an elite soldier. He's exhausted, his body aches, his mind screams, "Stop." But the mission isn't done. Does he negotiate with that voice? Does he pause to explain how he feels? Does he wait until he's ready? No, he moves. Because he's trained his mind to obey. He's conditioned himself to act first, feel later. He doesn't need comfort, he needs completion. You can learn that too. But it starts with awareness. It starts with catching yourself in the act of mental negotiation. The next time you feel resistance, stop and listen. That little voice will show up. It's okay to skip today. You deserve a break. You've already done enough. Sound familiar? That's your enemy. That's the untrained mind trying to take back control. It doesn't care about your future. It only cares about comfort now. Every time you give in, you reinforce weakness. Every time you obey that voice, you teach it that it can control you. So what do? You flip the script. You hear the voice and you act against it. You prove to yourself that you're in charge. You're tired? Do it tired. You're afraid? Do it afraid. You're not ready? Do it anyway. That's discipline. That's freedom. Because every act of discipline is a declaration of independence from your emotions. That's the key. Let's break this down into a simple rule. Command, then comply. When you decide something, that's the command. When you act without debate, that's compliance. The gap between those two is where your weakness lives. Shrink the gap. Remove the negotiation. You say, I'm going to the gym, then you move. You say, I'm getting up at 5, then you move. You say, I'm finishing this project today, then you move. No delay,
No bargaining. You don't ask your mind how it feels about it. You don't wait for the perfect mood. You decide, then execute. That's how you build mental dominance. That's how you take your power back. Because here's the truth. Your mind is just a tool, a weapon. But a weapon left untrained becomes dangerous to the owner. An undisciplined mind doesn't just waste your time, it destroys your potential. It convinces you that your limits are permanent. It feeds you comfort until you drown in it. That's not a mindset problem, that's a discipline problem. You don't need more inspiration, you need enforcement. You need to enforce your standards until your mind obeys without question. And yes, it's hard. It's supposed to be. Because every time you command your mind and it resists, that's a rep. That's training. You're rewiring your brain to stop seeking comfort and start seeking completion. You're building a soldier inside your skull. Here's how you start right now. Step 1. Set one non-negotiable command for the day. Something small but specific. I will work out at 6 a.m. I will write for 1 hour. I will make that call. Step 2. When your mind pushes back, and it will, don't argue, don't explain, just move. Step 3. When it's done, take note of the feeling, that calm certainty, that inner silence. That's power. That's you reclaiming control. Repeat this daily. The goal isn't perfection, it's obedience. Your mind must learn. When you say go, it goes. No excuses, no debates, no deals. You have a choice. You can live like the average person, a slave to moods, a hostage to emotions, or you can live like the disciplined few, a master of your mind. The average person negotiates with their fear until it wins. The warrior commands through fear until it breaks. The average person argues for comfort. The warrior enforces discipline. Which one are you training to become? You can't have both. You can't be powerful and still bargain with weakness. You can't chase greatness and still ask your mind for permission. You don't need its permission. You never did. Every time you choose discipline, you silence that inner debate. You build momentum. You build certainty. That's how you win this war. One command at a time. Stop negotiating. Start commanding. Because your mind will obey whatever it's trained to obey. Your weakness or your will. That's your choice. And that's the key.
But emotion controlled is fuel. The best leaders, the best fighters, the best performers, they all share one trait. They can detach in the heat of pressure. They can stay calm when others break. They can observe without absorbing. They can think when others panic. That's what gives them the edge. Because while everyone else is losing control, they're executing the plan. Let's break this down. When chaos hits, a failure, a betrayal, a setback, what's your first instinct? You react. You want to yell, fight, escape, explain. But that's the trap. That's emotion trying to take command. You must pause. Always pause. Detach first. Breathe. Step back. Mentally, emotionally, strategically. Ask, what's really happening here? What's the objective? What can I control right now? That's the discipline. That's detachment in action. Because clarity doesn't come from reaction. It comes from restraint. You can't see the battlefield if you're running through the smoke. You have to step above it. Detach, decide, deliver. Say it until it becomes automatic. Detachment is a weapon, but like every weapon, it must be trained. You can't learn detachment from theory. You learn it through exposure. You have to put yourself in uncomfortable situations, emotionally charged moments, and practice staying calm. When someone insults you, don't react. Observe. When plans fall apart, don't complain. Recalibrate. When fear rises, don't freeze. Focus. That's how you train detachment. You teach your mind to stay steady when the world shakes. You're not suppressing emotion, you're mastering it. You're not ignoring pain, you're interpreting it correctly. Pain is information, fear is feedback, emotion is energy. You decide what to do with it. That's leadership of the self. The most dangerous people in any arena aren't the loudest. They're the calmest. The ones who can stay composed while others lose their heads. You've seen it. The athlete down by 10 points who never flinches. The leader facing crisis who speaks slowly, deliberately, clearly. The soldier under fire who still follows procedure with precision. That's detachment in motion. It's not indifference, it's dominance. They aren't cold, they're in control. You have to learn that balance, to care deeply about your mission but not be emotionally hijacked by it. Because emotion drains energy, detachment conserves it. You can't fight effectively if you're tangled in feeling. Detach, then decide, then deliver. That's your process now. Here's how to apply it today. Step 1. Observe before you act. The next time something frustrates you, stop for 3 seconds. Don't speak, don't move, just observe. Notice what's happening inside your body. That space between feeling and reaction, that's your power zone. Step 2. Ask a grounding question. What's the mission? What matters most right now? That question slices through emotional noise like a blade. Step 3. Act with precision. Not out of anger, fear, or pride, but out of principle. Execute what your standards demand, not what your emotions want. That's the drill. That's emotional discipline in real time. Repeat it daily until it becomes muscle memory. Detach, decide, deliver. Here's the truth. People who can't detach stay trapped in emotional loops. They relive the same arguments. They replay the same failures. They stay stuck in stories instead of taking action. But the detached mind moves forward. It processes, learns, adjusts, and advances. You can't move fast if you're carrying emotional weight. You can't think clearly if you're drowning in reaction. Detach from what doesn't serve you. Detach from what drains you. Detach from what distracts you. That's how you rise. You have a choice. You can let emotion dictate your performance, or you can let discipline dictate it. You can chase every feeling, or you can control the flow. This isn't about being heartless. It's about being effective. You still feel, you still care, but you don't let it own you. You care through control, you love through discipline, you lead through clarity. That's emotional detachment, not weakness, but power. The power to stay calm in fire. The power to think under stress. The power to deliver when others crumble. That's mastery, that's command. And that's the key. Repeat this until it becomes who you are. Detach, decide, deliver. When chaos hits, detach. When emotion rises, detach. When the noise gets loud, detach. Because detachment brings peace, and peace brings precision, and precision wins. Always. Chapter 4. Discipline over emotion. Discipline is loyalty to your future, not your mood. That's the starting line. That's the truth. You can't serve two masters, your feelings and your mission. One will always betray the other. You either obey your feelings or you obey your purpose. Never both. That's the key. Every day your emotions will try to pull you away from what matters.
They'll whisper excuses. They'll scream comfort. They'll beg for relief. And most people listen. They let their moods dictate their movements. I don't feel like working out. I'm not in the mood to focus. I'll wait until I'm motivated. That's the language of weakness. Discipline speaks differently. Discipline says, do it anyway. That phrase, do it anyway, is the backbone of greatness, the simplest command and the hardest to live by. You don't need more motivation, you need more obedience to that command. Do it anyway. You have a choice. Every day, in every moment, you choose what wins, discipline or emotion. And that choice defines everything. Because your emotions are temporary, but your results are permanent. The person who obeys emotion will live a life of inconsistency, starting and stopping, chasing highs, running from effort. The person who obeys discipline builds momentum, slow, steady, unshakable. That's the difference between amateurs and professionals, between dreamers and doers, between talkers and warriors. It's not about talent. It's not about luck. It's about discipline over emotion. That's the key. Let's break something down clearly. Discipline isn't about punishment. It's about alignment. It's about aligning your daily actions with your long-term mission, even when you don't feel like it. Because discipline is loyalty. Loyalty to your higher self. Loyalty to your vision. Loyalty to the version of you that refuses to quit. That's why discipline feels hard, because it forces you to betray your moods. And your moods are loud. Your emotions want comfort. They want the path of least resistance. They want validation. But discipline doesn't care about how you feel. Discipline only cares about whether you execute. That's the mindset you need to build, the mindset of obedience to your mission, not your emotions. Here's the truth. You won't always feel ready. You won't always feel strong. You won't always feel inspired. But you don't need to. You just need to do it anyway. That's the difference between weakness and strength, not the absence of emotion, but the refusal to obey it. Every time you move despite emotion, you build mental armor. Every time you show up when you don't feel like it, you're rewiring your brain for strength. You're proving to yourself that your willpower is stronger than your feelings. That's real power. Think about a soldier. Think about a professional athlete. Think about anyone operating at the highest level. Do you think they feel motivated every day? Do you think they want to suffer, to train, to sacrifice? No. They simply execute. They've built obedience into their identity. They've learned to act without waiting for a feeling. That's discipline over emotion. That's how you build consistency, not by chasing moods, but by killing negotiation. When the time comes to execute, there's no debate. There's only the command. Do it anyway. Let's make this practical. Here's how you live it. Step 1. Recognize the emotion. When your mind says, I don't feel like it, pause. Label that emotion. This is laziness. This is fear. This is fatigue. Naming it separates you from it. Step 2. Reconnect with your mission. Ask yourself, what's my future need from me right now? Not your feelings, your future.
Step 3. Act immediately. Don't wait for motivation to return. Move. Execute. Take one step, small or large, toward your goal. Because action kills emotion. Motion kills hesitation. Every time you act while emotional resistance is screaming, you make that voice weaker. That's how discipline wins, one rep at a time. Understand this. Your feelings aren't facts. They're just impulses. But your habits, your daily disciplines, those are facts. Every habit you build under discomfort becomes armor. Every early morning, every hard workout, every focused session when your mind wanted to quit, those are steel plates forged onto your character. You're not just building results, you're building resilience. You're teaching yourself that you can endure discomfort and still move forward. That's how the warrior mind is built, not in comfort, but in conflict, not in motivation, but in motion. And yes, it's hard. It will always be hard, because discipline requires betrayal. Betrayal of the weaker version of you that lives for comfort. That's why it hurts. That's why it feels unnatural, because it is unnatural. It's rebellion against your emotional defaults. But every act of rebellion strengthens your will. Every time you do it anyway, you prove that you own yourself. You stop being a servant to emotion and become a commander of action. That's the transformation. You have to understand this clearly. Discipline is freedom. Freedom from inconsistency. Freedom from regret. Freedom from the trap of waiting to feel like it. When you're disciplined, you move whether it's sunny or dark, easy or painful, exciting or boring. That's consistency. That's power. That's self-respect. Because nothing builds confidence like keeping promises to yourself, especially when it's hard. That's how you build an unshakable identity. You stop asking, "Do I feel like it?" You start commanding, "Do it anyway." You have a choice. You can live as a servant to emotion, controlled by mood swings, motivation, and comfort. Or you can live as a soldier of discipline, led by principle, mission, and purpose. Every decision is a vote. Every action is training. You're either building excuses or building armor. You're either obeying emotion or enforcing discipline. That's your daily battle. And every time you choose discipline, you win, even if the result isn't perfect, even if the progress is small, because every act of discipline compounds. It grows, it strengthens. And one day you wake up unstoppable, not because life got easier, but because you got harder. That's the key. Repeat this until it becomes who you are. Do it anyway. When you're tired, do it anyway. When you're afraid, do it anyway. When you're unmotivated, do it anyway. When you don't see results, do it anyway. Because every do it anyway is a declaration that your will is stronger than your mood, that your purpose is greater than your pain, that your future matters more than your feelings. That's the creed of the disciplined. That's the code of the warrior. Do it anyway. Chapter 5. Chaos is the training ground. Comfort weakens clarity. You already know that. Deep down, you felt it. The more comfortable you get, the softer you become. The softer you become, the weaker your focus. The weaker your focus, the more chaos destroys you. But here's the truth most people never learn. Chaos is not punishment. Chaos is practice. That's the key. Every time life throws you into disorder, the missed opportunity, the betrayal, the unexpected storm, you're being trained. You're not being tested to fail. You're being conditioned to lead. The chaos isn't there to break you. It's there to sharpen you. Warriors understand this. They don't pray for comfort. They prepare for conflict because they know chaos is control training. The more you face uncertainty, the less it owns you. That's the key phrase. Memorize it, live it. Chaos is control training. You have a choice. You can panic when chaos hits, or you can use it as your gym. You can drown in disorder, or you can build discipline through it. Most people run from chaos. They crave predictability, routine, comfort. They want life to feel safe. But safety is an illusion, and comfort is the coffin of strength. You grow in chaos. You find yourself in chaos. You become unshakable in chaos, because that's where discipline is tested and proven. Think about it. A Navy SEAL doesn't train in perfect conditions. They train underwater, in darkness, out of breath, while the world is collapsing around them. They're not learning to be calm because it's easy. They're learning to be calm, especially when it's not. They call it drown-proofing. They get tied up, dropped in a pool, and left to figure it out. Panic? You waste oxygen. Calm? You survive. That's the lesson. Calmness is not a gift. It's a trained reflex. You can't wait for peace to feel calm. You have to create calmness in the middle of chaos. That's control. That's mastery. That's what discipline looks like in real life.
Here's where people go wrong. They think chaos is a sign they're losing control. They take discomfort personally. They think struggle means failure. Wrong. Struggle means training. Chaos is the gym for your mind. Every obstacle is a rep. Every failure is feedback. Every storm is a simulation. The question isn't, why is this happening to me? The question is, what is this training in me? That's the difference between the victim and the warrior. The victim sees chaos as punishment. The warrior sees chaos as preparation. You have to choose who you'll be. Here's the truth. Comfort destroys clarity. When everything is easy, your senses dull. You stop paying attention. You stop growing. But when life hits hard, suddenly you're awake, you're focused, you're alive again. Chaos wakes you up. And that's why you should never run from it. Chaos isn't the enemy. It's the environment where greatness is built. That's the key. Let's talk about control. Real control isn't about stopping chaos. You can't. Life will always be unpredictable. Control is about staying calm when everything else burns. You don't control the storm. You control your stance inside it. That's why you need exposure to difficulty. That's why you need discomfort. That's why you can't protect yourself from pain. Because every chaotic moment is teaching you to regulate under pressure. That's not weakness, that's training. Chaos is control training. Say it again. Say it until it sticks. Because every time you hold your composure when the world shakes, you're building a weapon no one can take from you. Emotional control under fire. That's rare. That's powerful. That's leadership. Here's how you train it. Step 1, stop running from hard things. When chaos shows up, when the schedule breaks, the plan fails, the people disappoint, don't complain, don't resist. Breathe, observe, adapt. Say to yourself, this is my training, because that's what it is. Step 2, practice calmness daily. Not just when it's easy, but when it's chaos. Traffic jam? Train your breathing. Argument? Train your tone. Failure? Train your perspective. Every situation is an opportunity to refine your composure. Step 3, reflect after the storm. Ask, what did that chaos teach me? Where did I lose control? Where did I hold the line? You're always either building discipline or breaking it. That reflection turns pain into performance. Most people crumble in chaos because they've never trained for it. They've insulated themselves in comfort. They've built lives too easy to test their limits. So when the storm hits, they fold. But warriors do the opposite. They seek discomfort. They invite challenge. They embrace uncertainty. Because they know the more they expose themselves to controlled chaos, the calmer they'll be in real chaos. They're training for composure. They're training to stay steady when everyone else loses their head. That's dominance. And it's built, not born. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Chaos will come for you whether you're ready or not. That's guaranteed. So the only logical move is to train for it. Because when you train for chaos, chaos loses its power. It can't scare you anymore. It can't surprise you. It can't break you. You've been there. You've seen worse. You've survived. That's why discipline thrives in discomfort, because it knows exactly what chaos is. It's not an enemy. It's a sparring partner. You don't run from it. You learn from it. Chaos is control training. You have a choice. You can treat chaos like a curse, or you can treat it like a classroom. You can panic, or you can practice. Every chaotic situation is a mirror showing you your weak spots. If you lose your cool, good, you found the next area to strengthen. If you get overwhelmed, good, you found your next limit to expand. That's what growth looks like. That's what training feels like. It's not supposed to be easy. It's supposed to refine you. That's the key. When you stop fearing chaos, you stop being controlled by it. When you start using chaos, you start becoming stronger from it. You stop asking for easier conditions, and you start demanding greater control. You don't pray for calm waters. You learn to steer through storms. That's real mastery. That's emotional intelligence forged through fire. Because calmness is not a luxury. It's a responsibility. You owe it to your mission to stay clear while others panic.
You owe it to your goals to stay sharp while others crumble. You owe it to yourself to stay disciplined no matter how chaotic life gets. That's warrior thinking. That's the path. Say it one more time. Chaos is control training. Every storm strengthens you. Every test trains you. Every loss teaches you. The more you face uncertainty, the less it owns you. And when chaos no longer controls you, nothing can. That's freedom. That's power. That's discipline. The final stage of mental mastery is stillness. When others panic, you observe. When others argue, you execute. When others lose control, you remain grounded. That's emotional invincibility. That's the level you're building toward. You've trained your mind. You've trained your discipline. Now you train your stillness. Because the highest form of strength isn't loud, it's calm. That's the key. Understand this. Calmness is not weakness. Calmness is command. Anybody can scream. Anybody can panic. Anybody can react. But control is rare. Control is power. The one who stays calm when others lose it, that's the one everyone looks to. That's the leader. That's the warrior. Because calm is not passive. Calm is focused energy under command. You don't need to announce your control. You don't need to prove it. It's visible in your posture, your pace, your tone, your silence. The world can feel when a person is untouchable. You walk differently. You breathe differently. You carry certainty in chaos. That's the goal. To become emotionally untouchable. You have a choice. You can be reactive like the masses, always triggered, always defensive, always drained. Or you can become unshakable, a person of stillness, clarity, and controlled execution. That's the fork in the road. The average person reacts. The disciplined person responds. The average person gets emotional. The disciplined person gets strategic.
You don't need their permission to stay calm. You don't need validation for your restraint. You know what you're building. Power through composure. Because here's the truth. Emotion without discipline destroys. Emotion with discipline builds empires. That's the key. Becoming emotionally untouchable doesn't mean you don't feel. It means you decide what deserves your reaction. You don't give your energy away to every insult, setback, or challenge. You don't waste words on people who don't listen. You don't waste emotion on problems that don't matter. You don't waste your peace on things that can't change. You move with intention. You protect your calm like it's currency, because it is. Calmness buys you clarity. Clarity buys you control. And control buys you freedom. Freedom from drama, freedom from reactivity, freedom from chaos. That's what you're after. Emotional freedom. You've heard the phrase, "He who angers you controls you." It's true. Every time you react impulsively, you hand over power. You lose focus. You lose discipline. You lose time. But when you stay calm, you keep your power. You keep your clarity. You don't just win the moment. You own the room. Because power doesn't need to shout. Power doesn't need to prove. Power doesn't chase. It stands. It observes. It executes. That's the energy you must learn to embody. Calm is your power. Control is your weapon. Emotion serves you. It does not steer you. Say it again. Repeat it until it sinks in. Calm is my power. Control is my weapon. Emotion serves me. It does not steer me. That's the mantra of an untouchable mind. Let's talk about what that looks like in practice. Imagine a situation where someone disrespects you. Most people react immediately. They defend, attack, argue. They feed the fire. But the emotionally untouchable person stays still. They observe. They don't rush to speak. They wait to decide. And that pause, that silence, that's power. Because silence forces the other person to reveal themselves. It makes them uncomfortable. It exposes their lack of control. You don't need to react to every word. You don't need to defend every opinion. Silence says everything. Silence says, "I'm not playing your game." Silence says, "I control the tempo." Silence says, "You can't pull me out of my state." That's the discipline of stillness. Stillness isn't the absence of action, it's the mastery of timing. You don't rush, you wait, you move with precision. Because when you're calm, you see more, you think sharper, you act smarter. That's why warriors train stillness. That's why the great ones meditate, breathe, reflect. Not for peace, but for performance. When your emotions don't cloud your judgment, you make better decisions. You recover faster. You conserve energy. Stillness is efficiency. Stillness is strategy. Stillness is strength, disguised as serenity. That's the paradox of power. The calmer you are, the stronger you become. Here's how to build it. Step 1. Practice the pause. When emotion hits, pause. Don't speak, don't move, just breathe. That pause breaks the automatic reaction loop. It creates a window for control. Step 2. Reconnect to your command center. Ask, what's my mission right now? Not what do I feel, but what needs to be done. That question anchors you in logic and purpose. Step 3. Act with restraint. Never rush words, never rush moves. Make every action deliberate, calculated, and aligned with your mission. That's how you project control without saying a word. Because stillness isn't passive, it's precise. You're not doing nothing. You're doing only what matters. That's emotional efficiency. That's discipline. Most people exhaust themselves with overreaction. They waste energy trying to be understood, trying to prove, trying to respond to every attack. But the emotionally untouchable person doesn't chase approval. They chase execution. You don't need to win arguments. You win outcomes. You don't need to convince. You demonstrate. You don't explain control. You show it through results. That's the difference. The calm person gets more done. The reactive person gets more drained. Choose calm. Because calm is contagious. Calm influences. Calm commands respect. It's the unspoken authority in every room. That's the key. Understand this. Emotional stillness is a superpower in a world addicted to reaction. Everyone's loud. Everyone's impulsive. Everyone's desperate to be seen. But the silent one, the calm one, that's who people watch. They carry an aura of composure that others can feel. Because composure communicates power. You can't fake it. You can't pretend it. You can only earn it through discipline, repetition, and silence. You train calm the same way you train muscle, through stress, pressure, and consistency. Every time you stay calm when provoked, you're lifting mental weight. Every time you hold silence when emotional, you're building strength. Every time you respond with clarity instead of reaction, you're evolving. That's emotional training. That's how you become untouchable. You have a choice. You can let emotion steer you, or you can let discipline lead you. You can be fragile, or you can be still. Stillness isn't empty, stillness is full. Full of control, full of awareness, full of power. The emotionally untouchable person doesn't need to prove anything, because they already know who they are. They don't need to shout, because they're already heard. They don't need to react, because they're already winning. That's what mastery feels like. Calm is your power. Control is your weapon. Emotion serves you. It does not steer you. That's your mantra now. Repeat it until it becomes your state. You've just learned what most people never do: how to think like a warrior. Emotional control is not a gift, it's a practice. Every reaction, every choice, every thought is a battle, and you either win it or lose it. You don't need to feel ready. You don't need to feel motivated. You need to act with precision regardless of feeling. Remember this: pain will visit everyone, but only the disciplined rise from it stronger. Weak minds wait for peace. Warrior minds create it. The next time your emotions scream, don't listen. Lead. Don't react. Respond. Stop feeling. Start winning. Your mission begins now.